College. And then 2 years later, I transferred to UW, and I finished my double degree in finance and economics. During 2006 and 2007, I started the Asian supermarket. It was called Asian Food Center with my friend. And then in 2010, I started to think about a restaurant chain business. So initially, I was just, someone who loved ramen. And I used to drive all the way to Vancouver, BC for really authentic Japanese ramen because my standard is really high. So I had to, travel all the way to BC. I remember I would, arrive during lunchtime and then have a meal of ramen, get really satisfied. And then I'll try to do some shopping, kill some time, and then wait for dinner to get another bowl of ramen. So it was the time I was really, a big fan of ramen. And when I was chatting with some of my other friends, they say, oh, they love ramen too, but just they couldn't find any good, authentic Japanese ramen in Seattle. So that's why I chatted with my friend who I met in BC in ESL. And then she said, oh, you know what? One Japanese ramen brand so good in Tokyo. And I remember she said that. So I reached out to the brand. I went to Tokyo and I talked to them. And then after 1.5 year conversation, finally, we were able to bring the Japanese ramen, the recipe to America. That's how it started.
Okay, thank you so much for that introduction, Brandon. So for our attendees, if you can post your questions in the chat, I'll be able to monitor it and deliver as many questions as you guys have been asking. Please be respectful and stay muted during the event. And right now you can feel free to put in your questions and then we can ask Brandon about them. All right, so I guess I shall ask the first question. You talked about how you started your first grocery store with a fellow student. And I was wondering if that was like during a class, like how did that inspiration start?
Yeah, so I met my classmate in ESL. Our English was really good, really bad, really bad. I would say his English was probably worse than mine. So I couldn't spell student. I think he couldn't spell apple. And one day he was like, Brandon, we should start an Asian grocery store. And I'm like, what? He was back at the time, he was 23 and I was 26. And then he said, yeah, don't you feel we need a really good Asian grocery store, an Asian supermarket here? And I said, yeah, I agree with you, but we are still students. We are still in school. What are you thinking? Then he said, we don't have time. He said, if we don't open a grocery store right now, and we keep waiting, then eventually some other big chain, they are gonna come and then they are going to grab the market and then we will no longer have the opportunity. And then I was like, you are actually making a lot of sense. So we felt we had to do it right away. So we just got it started. So we started the planning in 2006. And I flew down to LA with him, and he didn't know he didn't have any work experience. So basically I had to, try to figure out everything, right? So we went to a Chinese supermarket, and I grabbed a really big, like thick, like kind of like telephone book. And then it lists out all the business contacts. And then I was like looking for like produce vendor, meat vendor, and I started calling them, just call one by one. And it was actually very funny because those vendors, they were like, what? You want to open supermarket? You too? Young kids? And then they're like, wow. So they still met with us. And then they were like, wow, young man, you have a goal, you want to achieve something, you want to be entrepreneur. That's great. But why do you have to choose supermarket? It's so difficult, so tough. And but still they help us. They actually taught us how to, the produce vendor they were teaching us how to select vegetable, how to select the good vegetable, how to select what's a popular produce in the produce department. And then they will recommend their good friends who might be meat vendor. And then the meat vendor would teach us how to run meat business. So we actually learned from those vendors. So they were our teachers. And that's how we got it started. And then in 2007, we opened the first supermarket. And then right now, Asian Food Center has 3 stores.
Oh, it takes a lot of like ambition and like courage, just like opening that phone book. I mean, that's how it was done.
Yeah.
And as you've just explained your first business experience with the grocery store, how did it feel to open your first restaurant?
Yeah. So back the time when people asked me, hey, Brandon, would you like to open a restaurant? Initially, I will always say, no. I will always say, opening a restaurant is like, taking care of a child. It's like 24/7. Oh my gosh, I cannot do it. Then I had a trip, an international trip. I went to Singapore, Taiwan, Tokyo, and Shanghai, Hong Kong. And then I witnessed ramen was booming in the world. And I witnessed how ramen could be a good model to develop multiple store, to develop a chain, a brand. So I remember I was in the ramen shop, and then I observed that, okay, ramen has a smaller menu compared to regular restaurant, and the ramen has a very quick turnover, so in and out very fast. And ramen doesn't require a large kitchen or large space for a restaurant. So several reasons, including ramen can be supported by central kitchen. Several reasons that made me think, okay, actually this can go from one restaurant to many restaurants. And then that's how I came back from that trip. And then I shared with my friend who was actually my classmate in UW. And I shared this business idea with him. And it was actually a very interesting conversation, because ever since we graduated, we stayed in contact. And in fact, we made a decision to meet every Wednesday night. So every Wednesday night, when I closed the supermarket, all the employees went back home, I closed the door, I would actually stay in my office and wait for my partner to finish his work and then arrive in a supermarket. And then every Wednesday, 10:30, it would be the time we would meet, we'll make some coffee, we would chat, and we would share what we learned in the past 7 days, what ideas we had in the past 7 days. And then it would become a very interesting conversation. One of us will say, hey, what do you think about, let's do this IT business, this website business, or that retail business, or whatever. And then it was a very fun conversation because whenever he gave me an idea, and then I would analyze it, and then I will tell him why I like the idea or why I don't like the idea. And in fact, we just kept shooting down each other. So for 6 months, whatever idea he gave me, I told him why I don't like it. And whatever ideas I gave him, he told me why he didn't like it. And it becomes a debate. And it is a very helpful debate. We learn a lot from each other, from different angles, to analyze business, to think about business. And then that night, when I shared the ramen restaurant idea, it was the first time after a conversation, discussion, he didn't shoot me down. Here we go. Then we get it open.
Thanks. So it was a lot of like productive brainstorming and like structure of like back and forth.
Totally.
And so you talked a lot about like your UW experience, but how did going to BC affect your career direction?
It is one of the most important stage in my life. So as I mentioned, when I arrived the US, I couldn't speak any English. So when I was in BC, BC was really enabling me the skill to really put my, really grow up in America, and to really get into the credited class, and even prepare me to transfer to UW. So I remember for the time I spent in BC, I believe because of the teachers, those instructors, professors, they truly held passion at teaching students. I mean, at least for my instructors, I truly felt that. And going to class, it was not like so painful or like, extremely boring. I felt it was meaningful. Even though I went to class, I'm learning, but every day learning something, no matter if I would use it or not in the future, but at least in that moment, it was a fun discovery. It was fun to, train how I can think and how I respond to challenges, how I solve puzzles. So I remember, especially like school provided a lot of great facilities. So for example, English has been obviously, it was my biggest challenge, right? So I spent a lot of time in trying to in writing essays, and especially if I wanted to go transfer into UW Foster School, I had to pass the writing exam. Mm-hmm. So I remember when I had my essay assignment from my English class, after I had my first draft, I would actually go to the writing lab, and then I'll sign up my name, I'll wait in line, I'll wait to meet with the TA, and then the TA will help me to correct my grammar, would teach me, it will, like how I can improve my essays. And I remember for one really really big topic, that essay, I went to writing lab 7 times just to complete that assignment and to meet the way I wanted to to achieve that asset, the quality or the way I want to describe it. So I feel BC truly enabled me. I was able to learn English from, I couldn't even spell student, to I was able to pass the writing exam in UW in Foster School. I believe that's something really challenging, and I was able to achieve it because BC prepared me and it provided me the condition, the facility, the quality of teacher, and even my classmates. So that's how I was able to get into UW, and that's why I am always grateful to BC.
So it seems like you had a strong foundation set at BC. And so once you got to business school, how do you think the skills you learned helped you with business?
Actually, a lot. I would say the knowledge I learned in BC, even though that's the first 2 years, right? But it was a transfer program, so that program was already preparing me to try to get into business school in UW. So they taught they taught me the classes. They are the foundation of business, and you know what? Foundation are actually more easy to encounter in the real business life. Like the business law class, I still remember what I learned in that class. The first time the teacher said, in order to have a legal contract, both parties had to be beneficial. It cannot be one-sided. Otherwise, it's not fair, and then that contract will lose the legality. So a lot of knowledge I learned in BC actually still applied, in my life, day-to-day life. And those foundations are very important to help me to be successful in UW for the later 2 year, for the 300 level, 400 level classes.
So the skills were more of like the added bonus to your foundation to really build up on those skills. And then seems like our next question is, why ramen but not any other kinds of foods? You're from Taiwan and ramen is not a staple there, I assume.
Yeah. So actually, as I mentioned, I had been a big fan of ramen myself. So I found passion in this cuisine. And the ramen in Japan is actually a main dish in Japan for hundreds of years. Like I'm Taiwanese, and from Chinese cuisine, Chinese, we have like so many different kind of dishes, but ramen has been a main dish for Japanese for a long time. And the Japanese kept developing ramen. So ramen in Japan nowadays is almost like a rock science and art. So for example, the real way to make a high quality bowl of ramen, you cannot just like, oh, I'm boiling the broth and just do it for 8 hours or 10 hours or 13 hours and call it good. In Kizuki, every day when we make our broth, by the end of the production, no matter this 13 hours, 15 hours later, we actually have to use a digital device to detect the density of the soup to make sure the soup meets the quality we require. So making ramen is really, really hard, and it's like an art. So I was a big fan of it. I know the difference between good ramen and the so-so ramen, and I insisted to bring the true, authentic Japanese ramen from Japan. So with that passion, that's how, I wanted to do ramen.
Oh, I didn't even know such technology existed, the
Mhm.
density of
Yeah.
food. Um, and so you spoke a little bit on like the cooking operations of your businesses, but how did you handle the costs of operation of the first ramen store and other fees like travel, ingredients, and so on?
So ingredient was actually extremely difficult because in order to prepare ramen in the authentic Japanese way, we wanted to use, all those authentic ingredients, and we wanted to import from Japan. But in order to import from Japan, we have to pass USDA regulation in America. So we submitted an application to bring those ingredients from Japan to the United States. However, a USDA officer looking at the ingredient list, they're like, oh, this ingredient is unknown in America. The next is unknown. The next one's unknown, 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 unknown. So eventually they say, hey, you probably want to find, substitute in America. And then we like, okay, we tried it, but that couldn't meet our standard. So we asked the USDA officer, we said, okay, how can we bring those unknown ingredients into America? Then USDA officer says, okay, then they will require every facility or factory of those ingredients to meet USDA standard and the qualification and the certification. So normal people, they would just give up and then probably just find a shortcut and then forget about it. But we didn't. We actually went to talk to every factory manufacturer, and then we got them certified by USDA requirement, and spent over 1 year. Eventually, we were able to bring those ingredients into America.
Bless you.
Sorry.
And with those ingredients, were there any costs of like prohibiting you from it, or was it just like because it was a foreign ingredient?
So cost, of course, for good ingredient, the cost is definitely higher than usual. But cost was not the main difficulties. I feel the main difficulty for that process is really the time, the paperwork required, and then you have to try to understand and then learn what to do to satisfy, USDA regulation. So that was really the biggest challenge.
So more of the regulations, but the cost just kind of followed after.
Mm-hmm.
And then looks like our next person says, love your ramen and really looking forward to visiting Supreme. Have you considered offering reusable takeout containers for takeout ramen in place of the plastic broth containers, or perhaps other sustainable solutions?
So actually, first of all, we started to use reusable bag. So, I mean, I don't have it with me right now, but if you, okay, one example, sorry. So this is actually the to-go bag for Supreme Dumpling. And it is reusable. And because I really love the design, so every day I use it to carry some document, something. So our customers, after you make a to-go order or even delivery, the bag is reusable. And we actually hired an artist from Japan to make the design of those bags. So you will be willing to reuse it. You will feel it's awesome. It looks great, high quality. You don't want to just toss it away. I remember one time I went to watch baseball in T-Mobile Park, and I was there with my mom. And then my mom, of course, used our Kizuki to go bag as her bag, her purse, right? And then got into T-Mobile Park and then the security says, oh no, you cannot bring this size of bag into the game. And then we're like, oh, okay, sorry, we didn't know. Okay, it's okay. So my mom, took her jacket out and then took her stuff out and then said, okay, then we don't need this bag. And then the security guy look at us and says, oh, so do you want me to put this bag into a locker for you? And we're like, oh, no, you can have it. Or you can toss it away. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And then the security guy says, I can have it. I really can have it. He said, yeah, you can have it. And he was so happy. He put away our to-go bag. So that's the intention. We want people to reuse to-go bag. And therefore, for our ramen bowl, it is special designed to be able to be microwavable. So we try to make our ramen high quality, which means traditionally Japanese ramen, you have to eat it like popping hot.
Mhm.
And actually even nowadays in Japan, microwave is not extremely common. So most of Japanese ramen shop in Japan do not allow to go. Because once you eat the ramen really cold, it's not delicious anymore. So those ramen restaurants, they hold their pride at their food quality. So they don't even want you to, buy their food to go. So we tried really hard to find out a way our customer can actually enjoy high quality ramen at home. So that's why we make our reheat instruction as a sticker, and then teach our customer how to use 1 minute in microwave for soup, and then another 1 more minute to add noodle in, totally 2 minutes. And we select the microwavable bowl. So when you do when you follow the instruction, then actually you can get to enjoy our ramen, maybe not 100% to the restaurant level, but I would say 90 to 95% to the restaurant level. So that is very important for our customer to enjoy high quality of ramen at home.
So you made sure to invest in the takeout experience to preserve the quality of
Right.
your food. Oh, now I can want the bag. And then it seems our next question is, what advice would you give to students who want to open their restaurants in the US? What should we be aware of?
Okay, so restaurant is indeed it's a people business, because your teammates, your team member, your line cook, your server, everyone has to put a heart in the process to deliver a wonderful experience to our customer. So if you want to run a restaurant, then first of all, you need to ask yourself, do you believe people first? If you believe in people, if you believe in this business has to value people, it has to have a culture of respecting and cultivate people in this company. If you have that belief, then you can start a restaurant business. So that's the first question you need to know. You need to know you really need to, work really hard to work with different people, to deal with people problems. Okay, so that's number one. And then number two, you also need to know restaurants are highly competitive. I remember I did a research long time ago. I think it says 70% of restaurants fail within first 1 or 3 years. And then another 20% fails in the following 2 years. So 90% of restaurants fails in a really short time. That's why I remember I saw one article online arguing the highest failure rate in the United States is actually the restaurant sector. So you have to know it's extremely competitive. Are you willing to take the risk? And most importantly is, do you feel you are prepared to win the competition? So I noticed in the chat, I think someone was talking about funding to start a restaurant. So I borrowed, I mean, first of all, I saved up some money, but way not enough to open a restaurant. So I borrowed from my family members. And you need to know, today, if you are borrowing money from a bank and if you fail, well, you declare bankruptcy, right? And you tell the bank, oops, I'm sorry. But if you borrow money from your family, if you fail, do you think you can just say, hey, I'm bankrupt, sorry, bye? You still want to pay back, no matter what, okay? So I did an Excel calculation using the skill I learned from school. I calculate, okay, if I fail this business, I need to go back to find a job. And then I, like every month, how much is my, essential spending? I need to pay rent, I need to pay insurance or tax. And how much can I save? How much I can save up? What's the maximum I can save? And then I did a calculation, how long it would take me to pay off my debt. And then the answer is 15 years. So from age of 30, if I fail, then it would take me 15 years. So from 30 to 45, I believe for a guy, they would say that's the most important time of your life. And for that 15 years, I would just every day, the only goal in my life is to pay off the debt. So it was a very shocking calculation to me. And even thinking about, okay, 10, 15 years later, after you pay off your debt, then what else? Do you feel you can say, oh, I have a new idea, and then a new business idea, and then go back to your family and say, hey, I want to borrow money again? They're like, come on, you failed the last time miserably. I was so worried that my money will be gone and you can't pay me back. Now you want to do it again? I don't think the idea will get a lot of support. So probably that means I would not have my second chance. So if I failed that business, then I feel my life, this entire life, is probably just gonna be in a somewhat restrained condition. So thinking about that, many nights I couldn't sleep. So many nights I was only thinking about how my business will not fail, how to make customers like our restaurant even just a little bit more. So I started to look into a lot of details, because all details matter. Every one detail I pick up, and I can improve it, and I make our customer like us a little bit more. Even if the customer just add 1 point for us, but if I can find 5 or 10 details to improve it, then accumulated all together, then the customer will like us 10 points more. And that's how I wanted to capture every single point possible. So our customer will like us, and then our business will not fail. So for whoever wanting to run a restaurant, I would like to share those experience with you.
So for running a restaurant, it's definitely weighing all the possible risks and the amount of time. But since you were able to prepare so diligently and from like every perspective, I think your ambition has really helped in the best way, which is really cool. And then it seems our next question is, has the name always been Kizuki? And also, do you have any good or bad memories from your military service? I really enjoy your food.
Okay, so initially our brand was called Kizuki Ramen. We brought we brought a brand from Tokyo. So all of our ingredients and our recipes are super authentic. We even brought an old chef with us from Tokyo. That chef, his name was Miyada-san. He moved from Tokyo to Seattle to open this restaurant with us. So we brought the brand to America. The brand was called Kukai. So we started as Kukai Ramen. And then 3 years later, with our proven success in America, we actually was taking we were taking over 70% of the sales of the entire brand in Japan. So we exceeded 70% of their sales. And it was the time I realized there is a chance for us in America. Potentially, we can bring this restaurant everywhere in America, and potentially we can go IPO. And if one day we want to be a public trade company, then the first thing is we can't be a franchisee, because if the franchisor has all the power to limit or impact a franchisee, then this company is somewhat still risky. It doesn't have the autonomy or the power for the brand itself. So I went back to Tokyo. I talked to the president in Tokyo, in the shajo in Japanese, and I shared my dream and my vision with him. And he was really touched. He also wanted to see Japanese ramen all over in America. So we eventually agreed a buyout to purchase the system and the recipe. And then we became Kizuki Ramen. And the Kizuki Ramen is a 100% owned a brand in America by me and my partner. This is the way we prepare ourselves. One day we can go IPO.
Wow. Like the rebranding was really powerful. It seems like the other question was, do you have any good or bad memories from your military service?
No, I mean, military service in Taiwan, it's really about growing. I mean, sorry, I should put it this way. In the Taiwanese culture, you have to go through, if you're a guy, you're a man, you have to go through the military service. And then the purpose is to grow you to be a real man. So the way it could be, a little bit of like, you have to sustain the torture and then you can sustain the stress physically or mentally. So it was definitely a lot of training. So it definitely made my willpower stronger and physically stronger, obviously. So I feel I actually gained a lot from the experience. And of course, it was challenging. It was not easy. So Was that so enjoyable? I wouldn't say so.
All right. So earlier you mentioned how people and like whether it's employees or customers are what make a restaurant and like how to prepare for it. So do you think there are any skills or tips of communication that make you successfully bring back the ramen recipe?
Yeah. So one thing, because we 3 years ago, we hired a senior executive vice president of operation from Starbucks. And we learned a lot from his experience. And I remember in business school, one thing in class we learned is called vision statement. When I was in class, I have to be extremely honest. I thought it was bullshit. I thought it was like, okay, just one sentence, like a slogan. And I don't think the business will be successful because of one slogan. Come on. And I have to say, I extremely underestimate the power of a vision statement. So a vision statement is actually a true commitment to align with people in this company. You don't want to lead people by simply how much money you can make. You want to gather people, alike people. They share the same dream or same goal. They find their job day to day meaningful. So you have to allow everybody know why this company exists, why you and me are here. What is the reason? What does this company want to do? And do you like it? Do you agree with it? So in Kizuki, I would like to share our vision statement with you. So in Kizuki, we proudly deliver moments of joy to our customers, team members, and the communities we serve. So I want to explain how we came up with this first sentence, okay? So we spent totally 3 days, and I'm talking about day early in the morning to night. Whole day, we are talking about why this company exists. And first, I mentioned about we proudly deliver moments of joy. So proudly is one thing I really care. I would like our team member working in our company, in our restaurant, you feel proud. You feel this is a restaurant. You want to bring your mom, your dad to come here to try the food, or your boyfriend, girlfriend, your friends. You feel proud working here. So that's really important. And then deliver moments of joy. So moments in the restaurant, it's like you can just think about when you are in the restaurant, when was the point, got you really, love that restaurant. It could be that moment you take a sip of the soup and you feel like, oh, it's so good, that moment. Or it can be that moment you walk into the restaurant and you feel like, wow, the interior is so nice, so authentic, so interesting, right? So restaurant experience is built up by the moments that you touch your customer feel touched. Okay, so we want to deliver moments of the joys to our customer, and also we want to make sure we bring out the joys to our team members as well, because it's very important that you are working in the job environment, you feel happy. Okay, so happy has to be delivered from each other. Only when one team member wanted to make the other team member happy, and the other team member thinks the same way, then these two team members can feel happy working together. So the mutual respect is very important. So we want to deliver moments joy to our customers as well, our customer and team members as well. And then lastly is, of course, is the communities we serve. We want to give back. We want to serve the community, right? And then the second part of our vision statement is we are determined to provide the most authentic Japanese ramen experience outside of Japan through quality, service, and the value. So we want to be the most authentic Japanese ramen restaurant. And we are very clear, we are not competing with those extremely authentic Japanese ramen restaurants in Tokyo, but we want to be the most authentic Japanese ramen restaurant in America. And how we are going to achieve that? We are going to achieve it through the quality of our food, the service of our team members, and lastly is value. We don't want to bring you a really, authentic Japanese ramen and tell you this is $150, right? We want to make sure our customer feel like, wow, for this price point, Kizuki over-deliver. And I am so happy and I find it so worthy to come to Kizuki. And the customer will get extra happy about that. So we want to make sure we deliver value to our customers as well. So we have this vision. And then we ask all of our team members, we ask them, do you agree? Do you like it? If you do, that's great. Let's do it together. And if you don't like it, you don't agree with it, that's totally fine. But that just means this is not the right company for you.
Mm. Yeah.
So eventually, actually, most of our team members all love it, because who doesn't want to deliver moment of joy to customer or your team members, right? So with this vision statement, we connect everybody together and we build a culture together.
So with the vision statement and with just communication skills in general, you really have to value and respect the people, the process, the culture, and the values of everything. It's really cool. And then I can't help but ask, what was your first vision statement back in school when you made it and you thought it was not important?
No, when I learned in business school and I couldn't understand the power of vision statement. I didn't have any. I'm talking about when I was in school, learning about, school was teaching me a really powerful, concept to run a successful business, but I didn't get it. I thought it was just a, beautiful thing to say, just a slogan. I did not know the true power until I talked to the senior executive vice president of operation from Starbucks. Then I realized, oh my gosh, this is such an important thing to develop a company.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your experience, your challenges, your achievements, your advice for all of the students here today. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but thank you so much for coming today. And I'd like to pass it off to the advisors.
Hi, thank you so much for coming, Brandon. We appreciate it so much. And I know for me, it was so inspiring and such good advice you gave students. So we really appreciate you coming. I want to remind everyone that Sunny just posted in the chat, there's a few spots left to sign up for a $30 voucher to Brandon's new restaurant, Supreme Dumpling. So make sure to fill out that form to get entered into that. And then also next week, if you want to pull up the slide for the etiquette lunch, we have one more event for the business leadership community this year, and it's the etiquette lunch at Renton Technical Community College on Friday, June 10th at 1:30 p.m. So make sure to sign up for that. It's $10 and it's a 3-course meal. So sign up if you're interested because we have limited seating. Again, thank you so much, Brandon, and thank you all for being here. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Really great job, Claire and Audrey.